That's I think the key, to see emotions as data, and be able to respond to, hey, this is cool, this is great data, and it makes me feel, and it makes life worth experiencing and living. And I have a mind, and I can use that as well. I can use that data consciously.
Love it. Welcome to the EQ Gangster podcast, where you will learn practical tools to grow your mental and emotional health and intelligence to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home. It is real, raw, and transformational. The journey of emotional growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. I believe in you. This episode is sponsored by Arrowhead Leadership Consulting. What are your organization's biggest pain points right now? Low EQ leaders, weak managers, toxic culture, high turnover, low engagement, leader development, lagging behind company growth, no company career path. Let us know if your organization needs leadership coaching, workshops, training, or keynotes. Visit arrowhead-leadership.com for more details. Arrowhead-leadership.com. EQ Gangsters, I've got a super duper dude, global citizen, big flow heart. He's got a big heart, and he does lots of flow. He's awesome. He is a big believer in emotional intelligence, and it's super fascinating meeting somebody in the same space as me and as passionate as me, but from a very different angle. I come at it from a very infantry, ground pounder perspective, knuckle dragger perspective. He comes at it from a very big brain perspective, a very data driven biohack science perspective, which is fascinating. And so he's going to really shed light on EQ from a perspective that, we don't, I don't talk about, right? Because that's just not my background. And so I'm super stoked. I got a lot out of our first conversation a few weeks ago, Flo. So I'm really excited. So here's a little bit about his background. So helping high performers master decisions with biofeedback, physicist and elite coach, 3,000 hours of meditation. He's written about mental health and emotional intelligence. Definitely follow him on LinkedIn as well. Again, Hart, Flohart. He built a successful career in physics and tech entrepreneurship, giving him the unique ability to translate complex neuroscience into practical tools busy professionals can implement between meetings. He delivers data-driven feedback on meditation progress, emotional regulation during stressful situations, sustainable high performance without burnout, mental clarity during high-stakes decisions, improved sleep and recovery patterns. Coached dozens of CEOs, built a 28,000 plus mindfulness community, delivered transformative results for leaders battling burnout. So all super relevant to our audience, Flo. Like, so grateful that Big Eli and Kyle crossed our paths on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
So grateful to have met you, Flo. So how did you, can you tell us a little bit about your background as early as you're willing to start? Like, have you always been emotionally healthy and emotionally intelligent? Kind of like, what was your emotional intelligence journey? What did it look like?
So first off, thank you for having me on, man, and thank you for that epic intro. I'm excited. I'm stoked to talk to you and talk to your audience. Um, yeah. So to your question, I think I think not. No. The answer is no. I mean, I think I've been just a curious kid that never stopped asking why. I think that's fundamental. That led me to science, and then I went into physics because I just want to understand the world. Um, but there, I really kind of followed my introverted, very heady, very disconnected, actually, side of things. And I think as a kid, I was much more in tune with my body, much more emotional, much more. But then there's a bunch of like experiences in childhood I had, like that probably drove the emotional side of out of me, and that's also like probably contributed to, okay, I went into science, etc. And yeah, and then I learned about physics and everything, and that was great. But I felt that at one point it lacks something, or there's a side of me that is lacking. Maybe that is the emotional side was speaking back then already, or it just was following my curiosity. I can't really pinpoint what it was there. Um, But basically, what I wanted and needed then is I needed to have some kind of financial freedom, etc., to be able to travel and study more what I wanted to study, which was at the time more meditation, spirituality, qigong, etc. And so I went first into entrepreneurship. It was kind of a detour, you know. So that kind of led me to entrepreneurship, and that's where I discovered, okay, I actually need to train a little bit more my social skills. That I ended up in sales, and that's where I learned all the hard selling, like Jordan Belfort style, like all the kind of uh, sales tricks and ways of doing things, right? But you don't have to be really emotionally in tune to do that. But basically, my background was introvert, and then I kind of forced myself to develop this extroverted side. So I had these both sides. And once then business started kicking off and had more emotional, more freedom, started traveling, started going to Asia, starting with masters, mindfulness, mostly meditation masters and qigong masters, and I developed that side of things. Um, and like I think I just brought these two things together when I came back actually from my explorations. That like the most okay, it's actually emotional intelligence. I was actually being in the body, etc. And also through a very strong uh let's say dip, I was in a really tough place because I've been good at what I was doing, and at the time, my business was mostly about marketing, sales. I helped tech companies to grow, and I was good in that. People hired me for that, and I had this whole mind opening from the East. Coming back, people hired me for what I was good at, and I was doing still what I was good at, but not anymore. Not this new. I wasn't really implementing this new way of looking at the world. Um, and that created this friction inside of me. And I didn't listen to that voice. It was this voice that just told me, "Hey, Flo, there's more, do more, do different things." But I was, hey, no, I can't make any money with that, right? And that led me down to very strong valley, like depression, brain fog. I lost my best friend, and that ultimately led me to, okay, I have to combine this. I have to figure things out. I have to figure things out. I have to tune. I have to listen to myself, listen to my heart. And that actually, I had the tools. I applied the tools, but that actually helped me to really go through that. I think that was just to give you a bit of a glimpse of that journey. So it was detours, a lot of detours, I'd say, to sum it up.
One question is this. So one of the things that we talked about early was, you're a global citizen. So you've been on this, you've been a global citizen for a hot minute, and you've been on this particular journey for a little while also. What are some of the cultural, emotional intelligence differences that you have observed between cultures?
Great question. Haven't really contemplated on that yet. But what I just top of my mind, I'm German. I'm born and raised in Germany, so we are known to not really be funny and not really be that be a bit more stuck up, right? A bit more efficient, and also a bit more detached from our emotions, I would say. Um, so I think that obviously influences, and I personally got always pulled towards more the Mediterranean culture, where I also spent a fair bit of my life, because the people were just warmer. They were more open. They were more, yeah, there was more sun. I mean, we talked about it before, right? They were just more open, and um, and so I think I never really was picking too much of that German thing up, or there was this always this kind of Latin genes in me speaking. Um, but yeah, so there's this cold, stuck up a bit. It's just obviously there are tendencies, right? And everybody has their own. But I think this is more that in the Germany or Central Northern European. The more you get into the south, the more Mediterranean you get, the more open, the more in the heart people are, the more loving they are also, um, and social, even to strangers, right? Um, I think in Asia, what I observed there, it was I think it was not representative of the culture there, the local culture there, because I was really surrounded by very advanced people. I would say very advanced people that work on themselves, that are very introspected. And so I think I was there in a very, like, I learned a lot from that community there. Um, and yeah, this is kind of just to give you a bit of the glimpse. I think there's this contrast, Northern, Central European, and more Mediterranean, that spoke through me. And then also, but even there, um, you have the Mediterranean, which are more heart open, more in their body. But still, there's I would say a lot of people that are not that emotionally aware. They're still like very um emotionally, they have a lot of emotional outbursts, and not so aware of that emotional data, I would say. So there's the contrast there. And I think it's like finding both, right? One is more in the head, more the rational. The other one is fully in the heart, but also there's this emotional spiciness. I think you have this, right? And I think it's about finding and integrating all of that. That's I think the key, to see emotions as data, and be able to respond to, hey, this is cool, this is great data, and it makes me feel, and it makes life worth experiencing and living. And I have a mind, and I can use that as well. I can use that data consciously.
Love it. Love it. It's such a really insightful way to think about those different cultures. And you know, because and like you said too, the Northern European, like it's kind of like in the US, right? You've got different cultures in the US. You've got the South, you got the North, you got the East, you got the West, and it was some really fascinating dynamics. But being a global citizen, I just think is such a fascinating perspective, you know, because I'll just speak for, you know, there's a lot of Americans who think the world revolves around the US, right? And it obviously does not. And so I love hearing from people that have traveled the world, and just kind of what are some of those insights that you've gleaned along your way. Okay, here's another question I have for you. When you went through your valley, that real tough time, what were some of the things that got you through that valley?
I mean, first off, my partner, she was a great support. She stick with me at my lowest. I think that's, of course, I'm so lucky to have had and have her support even during these times. And personally, what got me through it was actually a method that I'm so passionate about to spread right now, which is so let me maybe kind of pull out a little, zoom out a little bit. So there's I mean, I my background is, I have a very scientific way of thinking about the world, and I'd like to explain and figure things out, right? And then I'm also very interested in technology. I'm an early adopter. I just love, like, the potential of technology, as obviously, like, it's a two-sided sword, right? So there's ups and downs to it, but the potential, I think, is beautiful. And then I love, and I'm very interested and curious about the whole spirituality, ancient wisdom, etc., and meditation, and accessing different states of consciousness. And I always looked at, okay, is there a way to kind of, like, how do you combine this, and how do you combine these worlds, right? Um, and I think there is more and more technology evolving, and also research evolving around these fields. So personally, what helped me through the valley was qigong, and a certain method of qigong, of like maintaining a certain rhythm in my body, and that's kind of, it's called a primordial breath, or embryonic breathing, which is an ancient qigong basic method of breathing, a natural way of breathing in a way, and to really like restore energy and balance the energies in your body, right? Um, but then like activating the scientific mind of me, I was like, okay, well, what is this? And I found a bunch of research around this. That there is something called resonance or coherent breathing. So there's a perfect breathing rhythm, and that's like no coincidence, obviously, but that's basically exactly what this qigong breathing is doing. So personally, what helped me a lot is this type of method and tapping into like because it helps you to tap really into the heart and the heart intelligence, and seeing that there's so much research coming up about this really gave me the confidence to dive in deeper into it and lean more into it. And it was like, okay, there's something to it. So that really helped me to reconnect with myself and to tap into my like to take the leap to tap into my purpose. I mean, there was the purpose voice speaking, Flo, do this, do this. This is what you got to do, not this. Not like helping companies making more profit. Is like, hey, share this wisdom that you learn, etc. And that was the voice inside of me speaking, but I wasn't doing it, and really leaning into that, and really like stopping what I was doing and really leaning into that. These steps, they like I could only do them by being very grounded in my heart, very grounded in that natural rhythm, that coherence, how I call it. Yeah.
One of the ways I feel like I can stay consistent or competitive, I say competitive, relatively competitive with these younger, stronger, faster, bigger, more technical jujitsu folks is my breathing. And one of my goals, I know there's a lot of folks, I want to tap my opponent, right? I want to beat my opponent. I want to win. And for me, as an older martial artist, I have a different definition of win. For me, one of my goals is, can I breathe through my nose the entire round? So we're in this very intense dance, right? This grappling. I want to see if can I stay so calm, even though you may be freaking out, you're trying to kill me, all this kind of stuff. Can I stay so calm that I keep my breathing where I can only breathe through my nose? Right. And for me, what that does is that increases my capacity and my resilience and my endurance, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. So I can see what you're saying, that there's an optimal, because here's the other extreme. For me, I use extremes to make it's easier for me to understand a point when it's an extreme. So the other extreme is, we call it the
By the way, this is a
spazzy
very
white
scientific
belt.
is a very scientific way of looking at things. That's what science is doing, looking at extremes, and I'm fully with you
Are
there.
you serious?
Yes, yes, 100%. So you have a formula
No
that
way. That's really
explains
cool.
there's you have a formula that explains the like let's say Einstein's relativity, and you bring it to the it extremes, and you see how's reality moving there to understand what it is doing. And it's the same way. It's just looking at the world like that. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. I didn't know that. That's super cool. So the other extreme is this, I call it the spazzy white belt. So the new people, what kicks in with the new people is the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn
Mm.
response. But because we're fighting, they go into fight mode, and I'll stop them. I said, stop. I said, now listen, you're 20 years younger than me. Listen to your breathing and
Mhm.
listen to my breathing. You can't even hear me breathe because I'm breathing through my nose. You're freaking out right now, right? Which if your breathing is freaking out, that means your nervous system is freaking out, which means your performance is freaking out. Your performance will match your breathing. Calm breathing, calm performance. Freaked out
Exactly.
breathing, freaked out performance, right? So is that kind of the
Exactly. I mean, this is the juice of it. Like, really, it's that simple. Through our breathe, like I always look at it as the simple way to think about it is rhythm, and health is rhythm. Peak performance is rhythm. Peak intelligence is rhythm. it's that you just want to, it's like an engine, an engine that injects fuels and ejects like the oxygen fuel mixture has to be the same ratio. Ejects fuel, oxygen, and it has the perfect ratio, right? The perfect tact, the perfect rhythm. And if that rhythm is just off, either it just burns fuel for nothing and you don't have any power, or yeah, it just doesn't work, or you damage the engine. Then the same is our body. You have to be in your perfect rhythm. There's multiple rhythms we have, and one of the rhythm is like one of the main rhythms is the way we breathe, and through the way we breathe, we actually can influence the heart rhythm, which is actually the strongest rhythm in our body. And every other rhythm, including brain waves, brain function, um, is following that rhythm. It's synchronizing with that rhythm. So if your breath is erratic, your heart rate is going to be erratic, and the rest of your body's rhythm, including the brain wave, is going to be erratic too. So fully like on point. If you manage to maintain that rhythm in your breath, you just functions more optimal. Like your muscles get better oxygen, your brain is getting more oxygen and it functions better. Your amygdala gets more down regulated. You have more of your brain power, and your whole nervous system is just not in fight or flight, and it's more, yeah, it's just more aware.
So the other component to that, kind of what you were saying, Flo, is I interviewed a guy who is a, I don't know, master, maybe not the right word, but they have a company. Him and his business partner have a company called the Flow Research Collective.
I know them. Yeah, I worked with
On
them. Rian and Stephen Kotler. Yeah.
Yeah, Rian. I interviewed Rian on my podcast a number of years ago, and just getting into that, I would imagine breathing helps get us in that flow state, I would imagine.
Yes, actually, 100%. I actually, I actually believe, I think it's not talked too much about it, because, um, look, there is, like we just talked about a rhythm, and there's a perfect rhythm. There's a perfect rhythm for every individual, but it's more or less for 95% of the population is more or less a similar breathing rate. And if you breathe at that rhythm, everything else in your body synchronizes. And if you're there, I call it coherence. If you in that state, well, first off, you're gonna feel also amazing. This is like associated with more open emotions, more inclusive emotions, more love, more gratitude, more passion, right? um and that is when you're, I think, is the baseline of flow states. You will not enter flow states if you're not like somewhere close to this baseline. And if you're there and if you maintain that rhythm, then you're just be able to enter flow states much more at ease and much more at will. And even in situations that are less expected, like in a boardroom or high stakes situations, or even, yeah, through jiu-jitsu when you're grappling or in a real fight, right? So that is very closely related. And I think it's not really talked too much in the whole flow community and flow research community. It's very important.
Yeah, that's great. And I think another dynamic of the optimal human performance and stuff is obviously, and we don't need to go down this path, but also nutrition. Because I know I used to eat very, very poorly. I would eat a lot of sugar and a lot of junk, and I never connected that was affecting my mental and physical performance. I know it sounds dumb nowadays, but it's like I never made that connection. And now that I'm eating so much cleaner and way less sugar, and I don't eat junk anymore, it's like I think more clearly. I can, my body is operating at a higher level, and I'm feeling better. It's just the brain fog is gone. Like, a lot of my depression stuff, and that's a lot of that has really been helped by just what I take in my body as well. Okay, can you give us some what are some of those really important, maybe data points or science points that you have discovered in terms of optimal emotional health or emotional intelligence in addition to maybe some of the breathing stuff that you've already mentioned, are there any other uncommon or unknown science or data points that would be helpful to know?
I think the most fascinating one is the heart. And so, like, if you look through literature, human literature, like everywhere, let me ask you this: where in your body do you feel?
So that's a great question. Different emotions I feel in different parts of my body.
And where's the predominant part in your body that you feel?
Probably, if I had to guess, my chest.
Yes. And I think that's quite like you can look through literature. It's like I think it's quite common. Like most people feel here. Like this is how do I feel? Like if I feel tension in the heart or feel there. Then there's the stomach. We feel also a lot, but it's usually this area. We don't feel here unless we have a headache. Um, so so um, so the heart is somewhat associated with our emotions, and that is kind of known since millennia, more or less. It's kind of hand wavingly known. But research found, like, I think in around like the last 20, 30 years or so, they've actually 91, they figured out that the heart has its own brain. They studied the heart and they figured out the heart has its own neural network, around 40,000 neurons, much smaller than the actual cranial brain. But that network has its own, yeah, it has its own way of making decisions, has its own, like, can memorize independently, can take decisions independently, can sense and feel independently. So this heart muscle is actually a very smart muscle. It has its own brain, and that brain memorizes the way you feel and the way you're in tune with your emotions. And it memorizes also your general I would say emotional intelligence. Like the more that trained it is, the more emotionally intelligent you actually become, right? And that is a very fascinating fact. And this is known since the early 90s, but it's not known mainstream wise. So if you just take this fact and just apply it to your life. Oh wow, okay, I have a brain here. That brain can be trained. That brain memorizes, and it memorizes my state, and it memorizes if I do things that makes me feel more open or happier or better, or also memorizes things that make me feel less confident about myself, less happy about myself, etc. That this is all there, right? So, like, if you just take this fact, and I think and take this intention and this attention on it, like you will live life already a bit different. And so now applying this to breathing, applying this to sport, applying this to everything else in life. Okay, cool. I can train it. So how do I train that hard? Well, you like first off, the best way to train it that I found is through rhythmic breathing, coherent breathing, breathing at a certain pattern, and you can measure that, right? And the metric to measure that is heart rate variability, which you pretty much every wearable device right now is tracking. But it's yes, it's heart rate variability that these devices track, which is usually the average, right? Aura, Whoop, Fitbit, they're tracking, or Apple Watch, they're tracking your average HRV throughout the day. And that's a great indicator to kind of see how adaptable is your body to stress, and how is your are you more in fight or flight, or are you more rest or digest? Kind of, you have this, or am I recovered well, or can I do another workout, or should I maybe take it slow today? This is a good indicator. But heart rate variability is, you can actually zoom in much more, and there's so many sub factors to it to track. And particularly if you look at the moment to moment variation, the moment to moment change of that heart rate, that's where your emotional patterns are actually encoded, and that's where you see also your heart intelligence and your heart health is actually encoded. And and when you and there's biofeedback devices that I'm using working with people, and I train them on using these devices to and breathe and change the way we breathe, and change and breathe rhythmically and breathe in coherent rhythms, and we really see, okay, there's something at work, something that a business or something that stressed them out, you can really real time see that they go up, but they don't come down so much. And through this direct feedback, you see, okay, you think about this or what happened, that email, that conversation that stressed you out, and it just becomes less coherent, more erratic, because you don't know how to let go. And what I do is I work with people to really help them to see this in real time feedback and let go of all the emotional tension and in real time, and help them to with this biofeedback to, yeah, to understand, okay, this is what I got to do to let go. Because that's the beautiful thing of biofeedback, because nowadays, or we cannot really look inside our body. If I want to learn how to play tennis, great. I see, okay, do I pitch it right? Is the ball flying over there the right way or not? And I get direct feedback, right? Or even you in jiu-jitsu, I grapple that way, I do this move. Okay, great. Now I got the person. Now I got him. Or did I fuck up and I didn't do it right? Right? You have this direct feedback, and that's the fastest way we learn. But anything inside our body, we can't really look inside. We don't get so much direct feedback. We just get feedback a few weeks later when you do the practice. You're like, I feel better. It works. But there's this disconnect. And that's why people don't stick to it. That's why people, because they don't see immediate results. And that's why people are like learning not as fast as they could be. And this is where technology comes in. When you can actually look at the heart, what is the heart doing when I feel? Oh, cool. Okay, this is how I do it. What is the heart doing when I breathe? And that's, I'm so passionate about, because it helps people to literally learn these methods in a matter of days, in a few weeks, which it would take them months to learn, right? So yeah, that's kind of a little bit the science behind it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So this has been awesome. So I want you to wrap up with, I mean, I'm going to ask you one other question. All right. I want you to tell us, how do we find you and follow you and stuff. But before we get there, I mean, and kind of leading up to that, tell us, I know you've got a cohort coming up. Like you've got some programs and courses and stuff like that. Like, how, what resources do you have, or books, or LinkedIn? I know you put a lot of great content out on LinkedIn. What are some, what's your, tell us about your course that you're offering.
Sure. So, I mean, if you just want to check me out on LinkedIn. I put a lot of free stuff out there. I'm really a big proponent on emotional intelligence, and like you learn a lot there. If you want to go a bit deeper, sign up to my newsletter. I'm gonna share every week like some insights about my personal life, what I learned, etc., and teaching you the method. And if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, particularly right now in around 20 days, I'm gonna launch a cohort, a group of high performers, usually like founders, CEOs, that just want to learn about this heart intelligence, but they want to learn it the right and the fast way. And so what we're gonna do there is I ship you guys a biofeedback device, and we're working with this. And we have like a 12-week um, program where we really train that heart muscle memory, that heart muscle, and yeah, to apply it into your life. You will really, I mean, it's the same program that I go with my one-on-one clients through, but this time in a really cool group of people. Everybody's sharing the results, everybody's cheering each other up. So I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great cohort. It's gonna be really a lot of fun. And yeah, so that's this. I guess you're gonna attach a link. And you definitely can follow me on LinkedIn. Check me out there. Happy to connect with you there.
Uh, so, and that's Flow Hart, again, FLOR and then HART, Flow Hart. And then is your website, is it flowhart.com, or what's your website?
I'm remodeling that right now. I
Okay.
think so just go for
Okay.
LinkedIn. That's the best way to
LinkedIn.
connect and
Perfect.
check out the cohort. That's it.
Perfect. So you have information on the cohort on your LinkedIn site.
Yes, yes. Right now,
Okay.
if you follow me, you definitely hear from it
Okay.
about it. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. This has been fascinating, and I'm super excited to continue to follow you, Flo. And so sorry about the connection, our connection. I don't know if it's again on my end, it's maybe on my end, but I apologize for the poor connection today. But I'm super grateful for all the information you've shared with us, Flo.
Likewise, grateful to be here, man. Grateful to talk with you. Always a pleasure to vibe with you, man. And yeah, so definitely great.